So can you take me back to the day you meet Elon's mother now? What's going on? Where you at?
No, I met May's mother. I came from England. My mum took me and my brother back to England in 1955, 56, because she married my father, who was always shaking and everything, and he could never get a job, and he was a wreck, like I say. And she decided, no, she's leaving him. She's going back to England. So she took me and my brother and she went back to England, and with her, and they didn't divorce. She just left my father, and we went back to live in England, and then we came back to South Africa. It was very interesting for me to go to England because England was a place where I found they actually liked children,
Okay.
and they're very nice to children.
Yeah.
Whereas in South Africa, it was a place where every day you got a hiding, every day. Doesn't matter if you were good or bad, you got a hiding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, 100%.
No, every day.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether you were good or bad, you got a hiding every day. If you went to school and you said and you didn't do something quick enough, they bring you to the front, they hit you. You know what I mean? But when I went to England, I found no, it's not like that. They like the children. They actually like kids in England. It's quite a good experience. Anyway, we came back to South Africa when I was in Standard 5. And I went to the school, and May was in Standard 3.
Oh, wow.
No, so I met her
in the same
there.
school?
Yes.
Wow.
And then we went to the same high school together. And then I started taking her out when she was in Standard 9. And I was out of school. And I was in first year or something. And she, we just clicked right away. And we went out for 6 years. And then we got married. And Elon was born 9 months and 2 days after we were married.
After you were married, yeah.
So we were very great. I thought we had a wonderful life together. But people grow differently. I liked sailing. I liked flying. She hated sailing. She hated flying. And so I always say, when we used to go flying, she could talk to Canada because she was born in Canada, you see.
Yeah.
She came out here when she was 2 years old. But when we were flying, I'd say, they'd say to me, what does May do? I'd say, well, she's always on the long distance telephone to Canada, you see. So she's busy all the time.
Yeah.
Her long distance telephone was a big tin. You see, a big tin. And then she'd go,
yeah.
And then we would say, the people in Canada, they can hear this, you see. Then they're talking to her, you see.
Yeah.
Just a joke.
Yeah.
And so we split up and we went our separate ways. And it was very terrible for me at the time. But since then, I remarried and I have 2 daughters with my second wife, which I can't imagine a world without them. It's just impossible to imagine a world without my 2 daughters that I had dated,
At that time, is May the hottest, most beautiful woman you've ever seen?
Well, May at school, May was a slightly heavier built girl.
Okay.
And actually what happened was we broke up when she was in final year and no, wait a minute, when we were going out.
Yeah.
She, still going out, I didn't get, her parents, by the way, were very fanatical in favor of apartheid. This is quite interesting. Her parents came to South Africa from Canada because they sympathized with the Afrikaner government.
Okay.
They used to support Hitler and all that sort of stuff. But they didn't know, obviously, I don't think they knew what the Nazis were doing. But they in Canada, they were in the German party in Canada. And they sympathized with the Germans.
Yeah.
So when the Afrikaners government came into power here in 1948, then May's father, who was quite an interesting guy, he was a very good pilot, he said he wants to be with the Afrikaners because he agrees with apartheid, you see. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And he came out here with his family.
And didn't that cause tension with you because you don't?
Yeah, that caused a lot of tension with me. And because I was a director of NUSAS, which was a National Union of South African Students, which is a very anti-apartheid body, And I argued with them a lot, and they used to tell me, they used to be like rude to me, and the parents. And then when May was in her final year, around about that time, I said, look, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to come to your house anymore. I don't like your parents.
Jeez.
You see? Really? So then she cried. She said, but don't worry about them. I said, no, I'm finished. I'm not interested in this nonsense. And her parents even said they're going to get somebody else to go out with her. They don't even want me to go out with her, you know. Things like that. You know, typical. Typical, you know. It's quite normal. You're getting that everywhere. Anyway, so then May cried. She cried for 3 weeks, she told me. I was told she didn't stop crying for 3 weeks. But then she lost all her weight. And she became very thin from crying. She didn't eat. And then somebody said to her she should enter Miss Transvaal or something like that. And she entered and she won.
Wow.
Yeah, so she became Miss Transvaal. And then they asked her to enter into the Miss South Africa. So she entered it. She was one of the 10 finalists, Miss South Africa in 1969. In the meantime, I wasn't seeing her. But then we later met up with each other afterwards. And then we said to her parents, listen, we're getting married. You know, do what you like. And then it never came right with me and her parents. Never came right.
Do you remember how Elon was conceived? Where were you guys?
Yes. No. I was, as I said to you earlier, Mac, you know, when I left university, I was determined that I'm not going to be poor.
Yeah.
My kids are not going to go to school without, you know, some 50 cents for a Coke or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never had that. And then, so by the time May and I got married, which was when I was 24 and she was 22, I took her to Europe on a honeymoon.
Wow.
Yeah, I took her to Europe.
Yeah.
So I was already doing well. I was doing enough well to be able to take her for a 3-week tour to Europe.
So you was conceived in Europe?
You honeymooned in Europe, yeah. That's amazing if I look back. I don't know, because I was 24 years old.
Yeah.
And I'd already bought an airplane and everything. But I had people who came to me all the time for their work. And I couldn't believe how much money they paid you as a consulting engineer.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it was amazing to me that you could make so much money, you know. And,
I'm trying to find out what position you guys were doing. So maybe that's the position to have a genius, you know, if you want to have a genius.
Well, Elon showed the same thing. So, for example, in the first 4 years that he was out of university, he turned a company that he started with $4 million that he loaned. He got this loan. He turned that into a company worth in less than 4 years, in about 3 years, 3 and a bit years.
Yeah.
He turned that into a company worth $500 million.
Yeah.
$300 million in cash. And so when he was already 27, 28, he was worth, 150 million rands or something.
Incredible. That's insane.
Yeah, so we did this. He did the same. He just did it better than me, better than me. But May and I met, and then we went to Europe. And the first place we went to was in France, Nice, I think it was. And so I suppose Elon was conceived in Nice, in France.
Oh, man. Yeah. Good times. So what would you say, why do you think the marriage ended? Why did you guys separate?
To be honest with you, to this day, I don't know.
For real.
But look, if you do too well, in those days, we were top of the social pile, top of the financial pile, top of the political pile, you could say. And I became a city councillor in Pretoria. So we were used to a sort of too much good life, And so when you have too much good life, you start to, as a man, you just start being casual, about everything. And I remember, famous or important people would phone me and I'm watching TV or something, and I'd say, no, they must phone later, I'm watching TV. I wouldn't do that today.
So you became cocky.
Yeah, I became cocky, and very cocky. And I was not concerned with my wife. And I not concerned, I was not like, you change,
Yeah.
And I started doing things on my own and going away to places on my own and stuff. And that's the end of a marriage, when that happens.
And women love attention. They need attention all the time.
I'm totally guilty of that. I don't blame her at all. And I realized that if I hadn't been like that, it wouldn't have happened. But on the other hand, it gave her a chance to also go out and do things of her own. She was quite a capable person. And she went out and she did a lot of modeling, and she continued with her studies. She got an MSc degree.
Yeah.
And she went on, and recently the University of the Free State gave her honorary doctorate.
Yeah, because I read, you said, I screwed up the marriage. My former wife doesn't speak to me. Even when we're in the same room, she won't even speak to me. Is that still the same?
She won't speak to me.
At all?
Not even today.
Wow.
No, won't speak to me.